A lot of good on this part of the track.
Can I have a BBW fail?
A brake-by-wire fail.
Now on the inside, joins Hamilton in battle. It is Hamilton and Verstappen. Verstappen and Hamilton wheel to wheel going into the field of the Tamburello chicane. Hamilton is forced wide and he's lost a little bit of bodywork as well. Sergio Perez is in. He, like his teammate Charles Leclerc, goes wide. And Aqua Minerale, and that's a spinning Williams of Nicholas Latifi going out. And Aqua Minerale, well done. He's kept the engine running and he's not got beached in the gravel. Verstappen leads Hamilton, leads Leclerc going over the grass now. It's his teammate Sainz. Perez is fourth, Ricciardo fifth.
What can you tell us?
Yeah, it is amazingly. I would have said that a wet tyre start for Gasly and Ocon was actually a good call, but Ocon says it's not wet enough for the full wet. So under the safety car, losing a bit less time, although he'll rejoin the run at the back of the pack.
Yeah. Great reaction, was already pointing towards his teammate Sergio Perez, and then a gap opened up for him on the left-hand side of Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes, and we now head into the Tamburello chicane, and 2 into 1 does off on the formation lap, rejoins, and in a few hundred metres time, out of the race. You can see Stroll going past, or Vettel going past in the Aston Martin. Oh, and that was Nikita Mazepin to go.
No.
If it had gone any further right to stay out of the way of the Williams, he's on the grass himself. In the wet conditions, Hamilton's not going to be as disadvantaged by the damage that he's picked up to that front wing. But when it dries, that's when he's going to start to lose aero performance.
Pit exit is why they've closed the pit entry, stop people coming down there. And they can change the whole nose. Takes them normally 12, 15 seconds.
But Max Verstappen's incredible start might have been the fact that he started in second gear. So, yeah, really good traction for him off the line.
Well, we've seen that before as well, haven't we? With cars.
So he's got to go around for another lap. Poor Mick Schumacher. Character building, you might say. Both Haas drivers slightly in the wars. But, yeah, hopefully someone's going to retrieve that stray front wing, made, as you say, in Italy, at the Dallara concern. Not too far
behind the safety car, if that car in front has an issue, and an issue that is very obvious, and it would be dangerous for you behind him to stay behind him for much longer.
Such like, nothing too critical there, because they'll just be replaced with the new nose.
So, end of this lap, we're going to lose the safety car. We have already lost from this race Nicholas Latifi. We've seen Mick Schumacher hit the wall. We've seen Max Verstappen take the lead off the line from Lewis Hamilton. We've seen Charles Leclerc into the chicane. They came together on the opening lap. This time around, Hamilton is just a little too far back to make the move on Verstappen. He slots there into second place. There's Daniel Ricciardo in fifth, with Pierre Gasly behind him in sixth, Lance Stroll in seventh, and then comes Carlos Sainz, eighth for Ferrari at the moment. Out in front, though, Verstappen himself and Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton under pressure from Charles Leclerc behind him, and we get now to the long straight down towards the Tamburello chicane.
Remember back from Monza qualifying course in the past, generally Lance knows how to drive a Formula 1 car in the rain, so the incident involving Verstappen and
as it stands, Lando Norris in 8th place.
Gasly, of course, still on the full wet tyre at this stage. And, yeah, that was very brave driving, 3 abreast down the pit straight, skirmish on the previous lap.
I think skirmish is a very good word for it on a place now. He's starting to get a few more places back through Piratella and down towards Aqua Minerale.
Yeah, and Gasly's tyre choice is not now looking right, is it? That's why Ocon ditched those quite early, but the two Alpine
takes the long way round and over the curves at the chicane, and it was a move that was on, but very, very difficult to slow the car down enough to keep on the tarmac. He'll fight that again next time around. No investigation necessary.
Hamilton fastest on the previous lap, though, so it's holding it at 5 seconds. Tyre temperatures and therefore pressures just beginning to come up again for the drivers after the safety car period.
Carlos of Lance Stroll on Pierre Gasly.
Up ahead, because there is latent pace in that Mercedes. Here we go.
Gasly can't work on the car when you come into the pits either. It's not something you can take when you do the pit stop. He's got to come in and take that penalty.
So it's confirmation, because the original graphic said stop go. Giovinazzi on the inside at Toza makes the move, and now Yuki Tsunoda, who started last in this race, is now alongside his teammate as well. You'd think that AlphaTauri would on just ahead of Fernando Alonso. Alonso starting to gain on his teammate. I suppose it's all as well, Martin, about trying to get as much temperature into the tyres as you possibly can. You might have been struggling at the start, but now we've Gasly.
Yeah, it looks like Carlos needs a bit of rear brake bias tuned in, doesn't it? He keeps locking the front as he did down into Rivazza as well.
At the moment, Carlos Sainz is some half a minute behind his teammate Chaps, and that's McLaren battle, Ricciardo and Norris. I think that's going to go on all race long.
Just keep an eye on if people start to pit for slicks.
Second penalty to add it on to his pit stop and not a stop and go. And then, as you say, the two McLarens squabbling over 5th and 6th.
Right, touch plate, as they call it. Looks very nice. Gives them a little bit of downforce, but if you knock it off, it doesn't matter so much. So he's all good.
Was that the latest in the long line of driver messages that essentially, Martin, I'd like to get
play. And now Lando needs to show what he can do. And I'm sure if he doesn't scamper off into the distance, they'll swap them back again.
Well, just looking at the times, there's about 7.5 seconds, 6.5.
And the track is obviously much wetter, and you'll be straight in the head.
Well, that marvellous performance. He's starting to slide.
So, Lando, we don't want to be the first car onto dries. We want to eke out this inter tyre.
Because they've run the intermediates, or in Pierre Gasly's case, the wet weather tyres at the start of this race. And Gasly down in 18th place after what was the wrong decision to run the wet weather tyres. We've lost Nicholas Latifi from this race. 19 are still running. Verstappen leads by 5 seconds from Hamilton, who's carrying damage to the left-hand side of...
Onto the radio and say, come on, Valtteri. So I think they're getting a bit desperate down there.
Well, Lance Stroll, as he showed in the opening stages of the Turkish Grand Prix last year, is a decent competitor in the wet. To lose
6 world championships between them, and 14th Vettel and 16th Alonso. So I do see, yes it is, it's the slicks at Aston Martin. No action for Alonso at
severe penalty than the one that's going to affect Sergio Perez. With 5 minutes to go before the start of the race, the wheels need to be fitted. They weren't, and that's why he's got a stop-go penalty. So he'll come in, Martin, stop for 10 seconds, and then climb is over the ridge and towards Piratella at the top of the hill. Aston Martin ahead of the Mercedes. Bottas desperate to get past.
Yeah, so it's stuck as a stop.
Had to be done, but they need to do it quicker to escape any attention from the stewards. Thank you very much to Mark Hughes, who says Zolder 1981. Dave Luckett was the Arrows mechanic.
Yeah, that was an awful lot.
Anyway, to the pits, because he's got that stop-go penalty that he must take within 2 or 3 laps. Here he goes for his penalty for not having his tyres fitted at the wheels fitted at the 5-minute signal.
How Lewis ended up with slicks at the end of the race, didn't he? He'd taken all the tread off the intermediate and was getting along very nicely indeed.
And it's now 2.5 seconds, Lewis Hamilton to Max Verstappen. There is still the best tyre to be on.
So we're getting towards the pit stop is.
This is the sort of conditions Hamilton has shown in the past where he and his car really can excel in. And that gap now is under 2 seconds. It was 5. Ted, to you.
But that was as the number 22, Yuki Tsunoda, comes into the...
He's going to blink first.
Max, thoughts on conditions?
Yeah, well, if the slicks are not better, then what do you want me to do? It's getting very dry, that's for sure, but one line.
And he does not. He does pit.
And sets the best first sector time that we've seen so far in this race. Now, he's not behind Verstappen. He's been let loose for 1 lap to see if that overcut was...
It's a scrub set of medium tyres. I'm not sure that was a bit slower than it should have been.
It was 4 seconds, Martin.
Yeah, the right front seemed to be a while going on, and that's relief. Yeah, the right front was a while coming off, wasn't it? And that's given Verstappen track position and, of course, a lap of knowledge of where he can find some grip on these dry tyres.
Right, so we can get to Max Verstappen.
Yeah, Verstappen is just coming up now to lap that little pack that is Mick Schumacher, Valtteri Bottas, Who else is in there? Sebastian Vettel, I think, is in there as well.
Yeah,
there it is.
They're
10 as Valtteri Bottas gets lapped by Max Verstappen.
That's going to hurt, isn't it? Valtteri Bottas on lap 31, getting lapped by the race leader. Now tries to pick up a slipstream. His teammate Lewis Hamilton trying to do the same as well. 1.8 seconds the gap, but Hamilton's still got a lot.
Are so wide, the exact opposite to a London taxi, for example. And Lewis's pace had been sensational on the previous lap.
So whilst Verstappen carries out on in front, extending his advantage.
Somebody's dropped it in the braking zone coming down the hill by the looks of it, because the brake marker boards have all caught up in the accident. So it looks as if somebody, we think George was trying to overtake him on the grass and lost it. You're never that popular with the stewards if you spin your car when there are double-waved yellow flags out, as Fernando just did.
Right, so the one person that has been helped is Lewis Hamilton, who was limping back to the pits anyway.
For what?
Right, well, both drivers quite clearly blaming each other. I think Valtteri might be a little bit winded by that.
Absolutely top speed there, 295 kilometres per hour. What's that, 180 odd miles per hour here as well,
Look
for
at the
good
damage
measure.
to the arm coat.
Yeah, we've got to check the barriers out, clear the debris away and all of the pieces of carbon, otherwise people are going to be picking up punctures left, right and centre. But you know what, Lewis Hamilton was running fourth. I believe he was still running fourth on the road in all of that.
Not going to see much from that angle.
Oh, it's a wonder they didn't collect the other two cars as well. Yeah.
On board with George Russell.
Well, we need.
George did get spooked, and it's 190 miles an hour. You can understand it. If someone just slightly veers out to the right, then that sets off the chain. Either way, Lewis Hamilton with a lot to think about himself. Race. Luckily, if you're a Sky Q customer, you can use the recap facility, and you can go back and look at quite a lot of action so far. This man, Yuki Tsunoda, has been involved in a